Hey guys, Neil here for another video, and with the release of Pokemon Go, I thought I would do my top 10 favorite horror films of the 80s. Pretty much how you know I don't play Pokemon Go, nor do I give a rat's ass, but that's all good. If you play Pokemon Go, that's cool. I've never even tried it, so who knows, maybe one of these days I'll pick it up and I'll love it. Or not pick it up, download it. The fuck. Anyway, I am here to do my top 10 favorite films, horror films that is, of the 1980s. I thought I'd do the 80s because this is the decade that most people gravitate towards the most. Personally, my favorite is the 70s, but I will be doing a video on that and maybe even the 90s. But this video is all about the 80s, so expect some really well-known ones in here. Like I think pretty much every one of these movies in this list you have at least heard of, and if you haven't, shame on you. But yeah, let's just get started. There's 10 films. There are more that I could have done, but I decided to keep it to 10, and I think 10 was a pretty good number. It's not like I was overflowing with movies that I loved from the 80s. It was just these are the ones that stuck out to me, and these are the ones I went with, so it was pretty simple. Number 10, I chose Clive Barker's Hellraiser. A lot of people would put this one up higher in their lists. For me, it kind of it belongs at number 10. It's a movie I really, really like, and I adore the special effects, and I love Pinhead. I think he's a great character. Just the look of him. I remember him as a little kid. Like, I would walk into the video store, and I'd see him, and it would scare the shit out of me. Him and Chucky were the thing of my nightmares, basically. But I love the movie. I think it's great special effects. I love the characters. I love the story. I love the idea. Apparently, this is pretty close to the book, which is good because that was also written by Clive Barker. So it's pretty much a given that he's going to stay really close to the source material. But he did do some different things from what I heard. Yeah, good movie, really good. I've only seen the second one as far as the rest of the franchise goes. I like that one. I thought that one was really good. I haven't seen the other ones, but I heard none of them were really worth my time anyway, so having only seen the first two, I'm kind of okay with that. Alright, number 9 is American Werewolf in London. This might be my favorite werewolf movie. Well, I don't know. It really is between this and The Wolfman. I couldn't really get into The Howling. I know a lot of people love that one, and I'm like the only one on the planet who just doesn't get it. But that movie was alright, but I think this one was really was near perfect. Like, this had easily the best werewolf transformation, and it shows because the makeup artist Rick Baker, I believe that's his name, Rick Baker. I should know this. He's like one of my idols, in a way, I guess. But yeah, he's a great makeup artist. He's worked on other films. I think he may have worked on The Howling. I'm not sure. But he did phenomenal on American Werewolf in London. He won the Oscar for it, and now he's a world-renowned makeup artist, and he's one of the best. I think he is the best since Jack Pierce, who was his biggest inspiration. Great movie, great werewolf transformation, very funny, very dark. Again, this is another one that had phenomenal special effects, not just the transformation, but as well as the character Jack. I'm not gonna go into it anymore because I don't want to spoil it, but what they do with that character is laugh out loud hilarious at times. Great movie. Love the music. I'm a big Creedence Clearwater fan, so to hear them in the movie was pretty cool. Alright, number 8. This is one that always comes to my mind when I think of my favorite 80s horror films, because this is the one that got me into slasher movies, and that's Child's Play. I already have a review of this movie on my channel, so if you want to go check that out, be my guest. Really like Child's Play. Great, really good movie, and I've already reviewed it, so I'm just going to move on. Number 7 is John Carpenter's The Thing. I wasn't sure whether or not I should include this because I wasn't sure if it was more of a horror film or more of a sci-fi film, because I intentionally left Aliens out because I knew that that one wasn't really horror. This one is far more horror than Aliens is, but I'm still not quite sure if this is full-on horror. Like, it's way more sci-fi and mystery kind of a movie, but this is almost better than Halloween, in my opinion. I love Halloween. John Carpenter's a great director. I think he almost topped himself with The Thing. Again, phenomenal special effects. A lot of these movies, all of these movies have great special effects, so You're just going to hear that a lot in this video. I love Kurt Russell. I love him in this movie. This is the only movie from the 80s that I've seen Kurt Russell in. I need to see the other John Carpenter films with him in them, like Escape to New York and Escape to LA. Or to or from. I don't know. Not really too interested in seeing them, but I will because it's John Carpenter and it's Kurt Russell. Two really good things that you can never go wrong with. So, yeah. Number 6, I was really surprised to see that this one didn't make my top 5. But number 6 is not bad at all. Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, I've already talked about this movie before. I reviewed it. I ranked the entire franchise. So I'm just going to move on. Love the movie. Not much more can be said. So, yeah. Number 5. Hold on. I love these 5 movies, okay? These are great movies. I'm not saying that this movie I'm about to hold up is better. I'm just saying I enjoyed it more because this is more of a personal list. This is like this is my top 10 favorites, not necessarily top 10 best. But I love the shit out of this movie, and I know a lot of people do, like it's gained a cult following, but a lot of people say, oh, it's nothing like the original. Well, that's the point. It never was supposed to be like the original, you fuckhead. And that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. I love the direction they went with this one. I love that they brought in the horror comedy element. I love Bill Moseley as Chop Top. He really is my favorite part of the movie. I love Caroline Williams. I like Dennis Hopper. I like, the fact that they brought back Jim Sadow as the cook. I don't dislike Bill Johnson as Leatherface, but he is my favorite Leatherface. Aside from that guy in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, which is still quite possibly my least favorite movie I've ever seen. But this one, Bill Johnson, he was a really weird Leatherface. I don't really know if I quite dug the whole him falling in love with Caroline Williams' character. I don't know. I thought that was kind of strange, but then again, these are strange movies and shit can happen. And yeah, I love the movie. I really respect how Tobe Hooper came back to direct, and it was his decision to go in this direction. I really liked that. I liked how it wasn't like the studio butting in on him saying, hey, add more funny to it. No, he chose to make it funny. There was a lot of studio interference with him and I think Canon. Yeah, Canon was the studio that produced this movie. There was a lot of butting heads between him and the studio, but I think in the end it did make a really good movie. But supposedly there is a definitive edition out there that is like his version. Like this supposedly was it. This is the gruesome edition. That was supposedly the cut that he originally wanted, but I've heard rumors that it's not. So I'm not really quite sure what to believe. But either way, I love this version. This is really the only version I've seen. I've had this DVD for a long time. I've had that DVD for like 3 or 4 years, which isn't really that long time. But the fact that I kept that movie more than 4 years and I didn't like upgrade to Blu-ray or I didn't sell it or anything, it's been in my collection for a long time. I'm pretty proud about that. Okay, so my top 4, I really had a hard time picking. Like I really went back and forth between all 4 of these, like which one was my number 1. Not only that, but like what order I'd put them in, not just number 1 or number 4. I had no idea what order I was going to put these in, and then I settled on, I made my decision and I'm happy with it. Number 4, I only say this is number 4 because I have only seen the movie once, and it was pretty recently. And I do plan on checking it out again, don't get me wrong, but this is a movie that I have only seen once, and I've seen the other 3 more times than that. So I figured it's only fair that I put this one at number 4, and it's The Return of the Living Dead. For the longest time, I hadn't seen this movie, and I just kind of neglected to. And then I saw Hellhound on Horror Metal talking about this. He said this was like his favorite. No, I think he said this was his second favorite horror movie next to another one you're going to see in this list. He went on and on how great it was, and I had heard many things, like Cool Duder loves this, is like one of his favorite horror movies. Really, I don't think I had heard a bad thing about this movie, and so I decided to pick it up on, I found it for a good price on Amazon, and I bought it, and I watched it, and surprise, surprise, it was freaking great. I think this movie is pretty damn funny. The music is awesome. It's 80s punk rock, and hard rock and glam rock and metal and all that stuff. It's my kind of music mostly. Well, I prefer like thrash metal and new wave of British metal, industrial, new, but still, music in this is great. I have a wide variety of music tastes. The zombies looked great. I like the look for these zombies better than I did for the Romero films, which Day of the Dead, I want to go on record and say that is a great 80s movie too. That would be in the list as well, but I didn't own it, so I wasn't thinking about it when I put this list together. So who knows where that would rank. It probably would be in the list though, if I had to guess, because I really did love that movie. Yeah, Return of the Living Dead. This is a great zombie film, probably my second favorite, behind Dawn of the Dead. It really is close. Like, I love this, I love Dawn of the Dead, I love Shaun of the Dead, I love Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead. It's all dead. I love that stuff. Except The Walking Dead. That's just okay. Alright, number 3. This is what Horror Metal said was his favorite horror movie, and I can see why. The Evil Dead 2. I was going to put the first one in the list, but then I realized, wait a minute, this one's cooler. And I wanted to keep it to one film per franchise, because otherwise most of this would be Friday the 13th shit. And, yeah, I wanted to keep it fair. I wanted to include, more than just one franchise into the list. And I really did love The Evil Dead 2. I remember my first time seeing it, I hadn't, looked it up on eBay or anything. I didn't check the prices online. I just so happened to find it for a good price at Hastings. I think it was, $8, $10, something like that. And I took it home, and I watched it, and I loved it. I thought it was infinitely better than the first one. And I had heard a lot of people saying that. I heard a lot of people say, oh, dude, Evil Dead 2, it's way better than Part 1. It's just really? Part 1 was pretty fucking good. So, I had really high expectations. And yeah, this movie met every one of them. I really, really adore the Blu-ray, even though I haven't watched a damn bonus feature on it. There's just so many. It looks great on Blu-ray, by the way. So I do need to watch these bonus features, but there's so many, I just don't know where to begin. I should probably get, the Ultimate Edition of the first one, because they've yet to release that one on Blu-ray. That edition on Blu-ray. It's just, that box set DVD. That edition is what needs to go on Blu-ray, in my opinion. But, Evil Dead 2 is a great movie. It's the best of the Evil Dead franchise. Love the first one. Love this one. I like Army of Darkness, and I like the remake, but I think this one it really is the best one. I think that's where they really did embrace the campiness of it, and they did with the first one too, but that one was also scary at times. I was actually, on the edge of my seat part way through that one. This one, I was laughing my ass off the whole time. It was great. Still, the scene of where the deer head on the wall, mounted on the wall, it comes to life, and everything in the house just starts laughing, and it drives Ash insane. That's my favorite scene in the movie. I just go apeshit when I see that. Alright, number 2 is a very different movie from Evil Dead 2. It is The Shining. I am a huge Kubrick fan. I love The Shining. I love Clockwork Orange. Full Metal Jacket is my favorite movie of his. I like Eyes Wide Shut. I like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't love it like everyone else does. And I liked Paths of Glory. So I need to check out the rest of those movies, because I think those are the only ones I've seen. But The Shining is a close second for me behind Full Metal Jacket. This movie had such a very, very atmospheric quality to it. It was very, very creepy. I would argue that this one was almost more scary than Halloween. And it may have been. I love Jack Nicholson in this movie. To me, this is my favorite performance of his. I love One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I love Batman. I love The Departed. To me, The Shining is the role that defines his career. He really could play any part, and I think this was his best. He really... You can't take your eyes off him the whole time you're watching him. He's just so insane. Great movie. I know Stephen King hates this movie because it's so different from his book, but that's okay. He would go on to make a shitty remake miniseries anyway. Great movie. If you haven't checked it out, watch it on Blu-ray, because it makes a difference. It looks great in high def. But my number 1, the one that I immediately think of when I think of my favorite slasher film, It honestly, it's either this or Halloween. I'm thinking this one though, because this one's just a blast to watch. I'm gonna go with Friday the 13th, the final chapter. This is my number one. I've already talked about that one a lot in my ranking video for the Friday the 13th series, so I kind of already explained what makes this movie such a kick-ass slasher film. So I won't go into it too much other than it's my favorite movie of the 80s. Favorite horror film, that is. So that is my list. That is my top 10 favorite horror movies of the 80s. Let me know in the comments below if there's any I missed. If you'd like to see me do my 70s, my 90s, and 2000s. I'm going to do my 70s one anyway, so nice to know if you guys want me to do a 90s one or even a 2000s or 2010s. Just let me know. I'm okay with it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.